shot to do what? Woo-wee! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Protect Our Queens podcast presented by the Give Us a Shot Network. With me, as always, my partner in women's basketball crime, my brother in Christ, Martin Soares of Basketball Society. My guy, how we feeling tonight?
All right. Feeling good, man. Feeling good. I'm excited to get into the things we got to get into tonight. It's a lot. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to discuss. You know, draft lottery. We got some fun stuff to talk about tonight, man. I'm excited. Yeah, but welcome anyone who's here watching live. Welcome, and if you're watching on the playback, much love to you as well. Be sure to leave comments with your thoughts on the conversation, and if you're watching live, then tune in with us live. Leave a comment. The first thing I think we should do is a little housekeeping order for people watching live. Let us know that you can hear us. And last week,
we went through first 20 minutes. We didn't know that there was no audio.
It seemed like maybe more than that, but we had some technical difficulties last week, so we didn't even know what people could hear us or how the sound was coming through. So please, anyone who is watching, who is tuned in live, just give us a thumbs up. Marcus, just keep your eyes on it. And I don't want to say a thing until I know somebody can hear me. But yeah, if we're all good, then we're all good. But
we're good. I just turned it on. We're good.
All right, that's good. Well, that's good to know.
All right.
Okay, a little live check.
Just a little check. Just want to make sure. We just want to make. There's a lot to talk about. We don't want to miss any of it. We don't want you guys to miss any of the conversation. Let's get right into it. There's some stuff we got to talk about around the world of women's basketball. As always, you know me. I've been doing my best to try to keep tabs on what's been going on with Unrivaled. We got 2 player announcements last week. Ray Burrell is Unrivaled. Also joining Unrivaled is Jordan Canada. If you guys are keeping track, there's only 2 players left, player 35 and player 36. Actually, tomorrow, the 6 coaches are going to make their selections for the players that are going to be on the teams, which is going to be super duper exciting. Can't wait to see who gets paired where. Speaking of those 6 coaches, these are the 6 inaugural head coaches for Unrivaled: Phil Handy, Adam Harrington, Nola Henry, Coach Teresa Weatherspoon, Andrew Wade, and DJ Sackman. So we're getting closer and closer to the beginning, the tip-off, the launch of Unrivaled. I'm pumped, bro. I'm super duper excited for Unrivaled.
No, it's gonna be cool. Very excited. It's gonna be really cool, bro. It's gonna be really cool. First, just the fact that we get basketball, like WNBA level basketball at that time, like that's cool, and all the talent that they've got. Yeah, shout out to these coaches, man. I know a couple of these people just through the basketball networks and community and such. And shout out to Teaspoon being on the docket and Phil Handy.
Yes.
Like I love the picks for the more you find out about this league, the more legit it feels and sounds.
Absolutely.
Everything is just so legit.
It is. I can't wait, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, team selections are tomorrow, and then the season starts in January in Miami. So we're like weeks away.
And it's going to be fun to really cover it. Like when we find out these teams, man, that's gonna be fun to see how these rosters shake out. You think they'll put Angel on Teaspoon's team just off the strength?
Just off the strength, 100%. I think so.
I think that's gotta make that happen, right?
I think Spoon will do whatever she can to get back in that
right.
circle.
She'll have to. Yeah.
I think so, man. That'll be really cool to see. Also, I didn't put this in the thing, but I saw earlier as well that State Farm is now a sponsor of Unrivaled as well. So another strong sponsorship for what is sure to be a strong league. Speaking of strong and new things, USC star Juju Watkins is getting her own docuseries on NBC and Peacock called On the Rise, Juju Watkins. First 2 episodes premiere November 23rd ahead of USC Notre Dame, which, first of all,
this Saturday,
that is going to be a fire matchup. Fire matchup between USC and Notre Dame.
Yeah, and just the fact that those first 2 episodes are airing on NBC.
Yeah.
And the game is on NBC. Like let's point out the flex here and how much star power is being shown here. Like,
oh yeah, man.
Juju, like we know the star power that Juju comes with, but this is the kind of stuff that's happening. This is why the game is growing the way it is, because we still have more star level players coming through, man. And that's crazy. That it's a 6-episode series, and they're airing the first 2 episodes on NBC before their game against another top 10 team, highly touted matchup against Notre Dame on NBC.
Yeah,
it doesn't get much bigger than that. Like that's big time.
Hey, also, I know you've kind of like adopted Notre Dame as like your team because of Hannah. How pumped are you for this matchup, bro? That matchup's
well, I'm conflicted. Well, because I have my cousin who's the starting guard at Marist. He plays at 2:00 up in Poughkeepsie. I'll be there for the game at 2. So once that game is over, I'll probably be watching on my phone because I need to be tuned in. Like there's no we've all been, a lot of us have been waiting for that for a long time. For some time, I would say like probably like a couple years. Just Anna and Juju, 2 of the top freshmen from last year. Olivia's back, both teams fully loaded. I'm not like I need eyes on that game. I need
every second
live how things are happening. Of course, I can watch it later. I'll see clips on social media. But once that Marist game is over, once I can settle down, I'll be locked in on my phone to start. Because that's man.
This is a good weekend for great matchups. On Sunday we've got UCLA versus South Carolina. We were talking about that a little bit on the show last week as well. That's going to be two great games on back-to-back days for college hoops. Those 2 are going to be great. Speaking of Juju, continuing on this, Juju only took her 38 games to get to 1,000 points, which is the 4th fewest games to reach that mark in women's basketball history D1. I also saw she passed Caitlin Clark. She got to 1,000 points faster than Caitlin Clark.
2 games fewer.
1,000 points as well. 2 games fewer. So I know we just saw Caitlin Clark set a record for most points scored in a collegiate career, male or female. I mean, at the rate Juju's going, maybe we're talking about in a couple of years Juju breaking that record, which would be nuts to even think about, considering how long it took for the original record to fall. That'd be fire for Juju. But
she's tied for the fourth fewest games it took to do it in D1 history, and she did it 20 games earlier than Cheryl Miller, who's the all-time leading scorer at USC. And so Cheryl Miller's at 3,018 career points. And Juju, she's going to pass Cheryl for USC, and she may pass Caitlin for all-time scorer at this rate for sure.
Yeah. Last thing, we know who our 2025 Women's Hall of Fame inductees are. Sue Bird, Sylvia Fowles, Alana Beard, Cappie Pondexter, Mark Campbell, Lucille Cavalos, and Danielle Donahue. All of them will be inducted into the Hall of Fame June 14th, 2025. I know this hits especially home for you with Cappie being inducted into the Hall of Fame, man. That is fire.
Yeah. It was really great to hear that news for many different reasons. But yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, Cappie Pondexter, she is like a sister to me. She helped teach me how to drive. And we used to watch 106 in Park together. We actually, fun fact, we watched the Malice at the Palace live together. I was with her in her room. We were watching that Pistons-Pacers game live when that went down. But former Big East Player of the Year, Rutgers legend, Rutgers Hall of Famer, 2-time WNBA champion, WNBA Finals MVP, gold medalist, one of the best players I've ever seen, one of my favorite players ever. And like I said, my big sister, I'm really glad that Cappie Pondexter gets her flowers in Knoxville, Tennessee for the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame next year. That is well deserved. Well deserved. Absolutely.
The list of names there is just incredible. It's so cool. Alana Beard was just inducted into the Mystics Hall of Fame, their Ring of Honor this past season as well. So that's another great, achievement for her as well. Same thing for Sylvia Fowles. Sylvia Fowles was just inducted into something. I can't think of what I should have looked it up before we came on, but Sylvia Fowles as well. Just so many legends. Bro.
Was it the Lynx? Was it the Lynx? Did she have
the Lynx? She got she was inducted into like the Lynx Hall of Fame or the Lynx Ring of Honor or something to that effect. Not long ago as well. So just another accolade for her, man. So many legends of the game. So much talent, in the past, so much talent in the present, so much talent of the future. We have a lot to talk about, Martin Stories. Are you ready to kick off the show?
Oh, man, let's go. Let's hit it.
Protect our queens.
This is what makes women's basketball so fire.
They say nobody watching. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people in there, Martin.
To see how far the game has grown has been amazing.
When recess came, like, I had my sneakers on.
I mean, I just love playing the game. It's fun.
I'm reacting on what the defender does.
I hit them with a hezzy. After that, they quit.
All right.
So, as we talked about, we're going to unpack the draft lottery tonight. We have to start, obviously, with the number 1 pick. The Dallas Wings have won the 2025 WNBA Draft Lottery, which means unless something nuts happens, Paige Bueckers is going to Dallas. She will be sharing a backcourt with superstar Iriafen Ogunbowale. Martin, I was thinking about this last night. And I was going to tweet about it, but I thought it'd be more interesting to kind of get your thoughts on it live on the show. Paige and Iriafen, if you're ranking backcourts in the WNBA, where does Paige and Iriafen fall in backcourts in the W?
Man, I mean, I don't know without seeing it first, obviously. But I mean, that's bro. That you know what's cool about it is that I've been seeing a lot of people, rightly so, drawing the parallel between Paige and Iriafen and Luka and Kyrie in Dallas. And I mean, I don't know if there's a better parallel or analogy right in the same city to have to kind of think about what that duo can be, right? I think Paige will be, impactful and good and game changing right away for the things that she can do. But yeah, she's gonna have to learn the role. If you're asking me like Paige at her best, like if you're talking about like just Paige, UConn Paige and Iriafen together, like that's gonna be a top, 5 duo, maybe right away, like once she gets going. But it's really for me, it's really cool to think about the fact that Iriafen has a chance to get another elite guard in there. Yeah. We love how she's able to how Satu compliments her, and I'm sure we'll kind of bring that up too with the context around their roster. And her and Satu were great. I mean, they got to the play last year was a different year than them for this year. 9-31. Satu, missed like half the season. Iriafen was hurt for a little bit. So the record doesn't really reflect like how good they could be. But even at full health, I still feel like they had holes. Their identity is still in question. Of course, they're moving things around with, leadership and stuff like that. They just brought in Kurt Miller as GM and executive VP. They still need a coach, if I'm not mistaken, right? They still need to hire a head coach. Yep. But like I said, even with that group fully healthy, keep Natasha Howard, the bigs, everyone, if they had that same Iriafen, Satu, that's a good team, but it still felt like they were missing something. Paige feels like the kind of something that they would be missing. And especially in terms of, we talk about Paige and Iriafen, like that's the story. It's like the two of them, they're the dynamic duo, again, the ceiling of their team is still reliant on who else they keep in free agency. Like they keep Satu, Natasha, like they can keep this group, add in Paige. You're talking about a playoff team right away. And exactly what Iriafen, I feel like, needs and deserves at this point in another top tier guard to play next to.
Yeah, I agree. I think to your point, I do think the big things now are keeping Natasha Howard and keeping Satu Sabally. Not that those already weren't priorities, but now that you've won the draft lottery and you've essentially won Paige, right? Like you're bringing in, for the first time in Iriaken's career, a guard who is comparable talent-wise, where Iriafen doesn't need to be so ball dominant and she can play off the ball a little bit more, which is the part that I'm most excited for, right? Because you and I have had conversations over the course of this season and past seasons as well, about how prolific Iriafen is as a scorer and how she might be, before we saw what Asia did this season, she might have been probably the best scorer in basketball. She's still up there. She's still, second, third, whatever. So like having her playing off the ball more with a player who is capable of being ball dominant and capable of facilitating. I know that Satu is a free agent. I do believe the Dallas Wings can still core her this season, which means they can bring her back. That's the part that's really interesting to me, because I agree with you. This should be a playoff team year one for Paige, but I do think that is heavily dependent upon if they are able to bring Satu back to Dallas. Natasha Howard is another, key piece to their machine, another key cog in the way that they run things, obviously. But I do think, though, between the two of them, obviously, you want to bring back Satu. I think that's a higher priority. If they can do that, they can certainly be a playoff team because you have two really good guards, really elite guards, talent-wise, in the backcourt. Obviously, just like with Caitlin and other rookies, it's going to take time for Paige to adjust and get acclimated to the way that things go. But once she is, that's going to be scary for anyone because she is not going to have the pressure of having to come in and be impactful offensively immediately because of who her backcourt mate is going to be. She's going to just, the first thing we're going to be judging, or at least for me personally, the first thing I'm going to be judging Paige on is, her decision-making with passing, how she's able to get the ball to Iriafen in her spots, get Satu to the ball in her spots, to a lesser degree, Kalani Brown and Tierra McCowan as well. Paige has the perfect opportunity to really develop even more as a playmaker and a decision maker and a passer in this scenario. So I love this for her. But again, if they can bring back Satu, if they can bring back Natasha Howard, if everybody comes back with the right head coach, I agree with you. This is a playoff team in year one with Paige in Dallas for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like their head coach hire is going to be big because look at who she's playing for now. You can't let her go from Gino to just anybody. So I think Kurt Miller is going to take that into account. Their head coaching hire is going to be big for even like drawing her. Remember, she could stay in college another year.
She could.
Like, there's no really feeling of what she's going to do. I just personally, with no intel or anything, I think she will come out. I think she's putting her all into this year, kind of like how Caitlin did last year. Mm-hmm. They have a really good team, really good chance to do something. So I think she's going all in, and I think she will declare. I think that's the plan. But I think Dallas has to do their due diligence in getting things ready for Paige. I mean, that's what it's all about. Just like Indiana last year, getting ready for Caitlin. I'm glad you brought up the playmaking because I deliberately went to look it up. From the past 4 or 5 seasons, I mean, it's probably every year since Iriafen has been there, she has not had another guard there average any more than 3 assists.
Yeah.
And you look at the team, Dallas, they've been anywhere from, they were top 5 one year in the last couple of years in assists, but they fluctuated between like 5, 6, all the way down to 10th, 12th in assists over the last few years. And to give you an indicator of how important assists are for a team, the top 2 teams in assists this year were the Liberty and the Lynx, the 2 teams who were in the WNBA finals. Yeah. So you talk about that playmaking and needing someone else for like we're talking about Iriafen, deserving someone else who can set the table and also be a scorer, of course, which Paige is a high level shot maker, shooter, and all that, but she has the ability to be point guard Paige and add a new playmaking dynamic to that team and to that backcourt. So it's really exciting to see how these big talent players coming out of college, which are going to keep coming for the next like 5 to 10 years, maybe longer. It's just really cool seeing how these big time college talents are going to inject instant life into these WNBA franchises and the league itself. Like that's what's getting ready to happen with someone like Paige possibly going to Dallas in this draft.
And the last thing I'll say before we move on, this is, especially good for someone like JC Sheldon, who I think it's interesting. I thought about the JC Sheldon draft pick last season for me. It was really weird for me. I didn't think it was a bad one. I had a feeling they would go guard because they did need a guard. But I think now you're not looking for JC Sheldon to be Iriaken's backcourt mate anymore. She can come off the bench and she can kind of be more free in that. And I think that's going to be big for her and her development as well. It's a really minor piece to the overall machine and the overall success of the Dallas Wings in the long run. But at the same time, it might not be. Like, we've seen certain players just get put in the right position and they flourish because of it, right? Look at Leonie Fibish this season and how, some minor tweaks over the course of the season, she hit the ground, she's able to run. Not saying that JC Sheldon's going to be, Leonie Fibish-esque for the Dallas Wings or anything like that. But I think adding Paige to this team as well just is something for her. Maddie Seegers as well. Like, they've kind of gone kind of heavy with guards and wings over the past couple of seasons, trying to figure out what the perfect complement for Iriaken and Satu is going to be. If Paige doesn't, decide to go back to UConn for 1 year and she does, in fact, come out, which I do think she will, it's going to take a lot of pressure on a lot of these other young players who they've drafted who have kind of seemingly been like flailing around trying to figure out what their role and what their spot is. Their role is going to become a lot more defined once Paige gets drafted and once her name gets called as well.
Maddie Siegrist had a really good year this year. She looked much better in year 2.
Yeah.
Just doing the things that she does well, which is kind of just being scrappy and being a workhorse. Maddie and JC Sheldon are both role players. They were both drafted top 10, but they're role players in the WNBA. So when you bring in a player like Paige, it certainly does help. Especially JC Sheldon at the guard, because she was, even though, I mean, I didn't like that draft pick at all. She's a good player, but they could have just gone with Angel Reese for all that. You remember me talking about that. Like
we talked about that a lot.
A few different options with that pick. JC Sheldon's a role player. She's a roamer. She can hit shots like she could. So, yeah, I mean, that's an easy decision. She will start coming off the bench if Paige is a star player potentially. So that's that's absolutely the difference.
Let's talk about the Sparks, for who on the second season in a row now are picking second in the draft.
The Sparks, I think, have to go get that next pick. They have to go find Nneka's successor. And I don't think there's a better time than this year to do it. Whether you take Rakia, whether you take Cameron, whether you reach and take Angel Reese, one of those three, I think could, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Sparks say, you know what, we have a very guard-heavy team. Right, there are a lot of really good guards coming down the pipe. None of them the caliber of Paige Bueckers. Got it. But still really, really good. We want to cash in and capitalize on getting a really good big now. And I don't think Phoenix should give up hope on Paige. They should have a backup plan in case the Sparks do just, take Paige. But I don't think they should give up hope. They should definitely have a backup plan. But I do think it wouldn't surprise me if the Sparks say, you know what? Yes, it's Paige. Yes, she's generational. We have seen teams before, not just in the WNBA, but just in general. We've seen teams in sports all the time. They pass up on the no-brainer answer for what best suits them in the moment. And what best suits the Sparks in the moment right now for 2024 is finding the successor to Nneka Ogwumike before it's too late. And you're left with a massive hole in the roster as other teams in the league are getting their bigs and getting their front court solidified. That's what you don't want to happen.
So when the conversation was Caitlin or Paige last season, before obviously Paige didn't come out, I was very adamant that Paige was not the no-brainer pick at number 2 overall for LA. Here we are again. The Sparks are back at 2nd overall. And while Kiki Iriafen is in fact the second best player in this draft, I am not 100% sure if Kiki Iriafen to the LA Sparks is a no-brainer pick. Martin Soares, if you were a decision maker for the LA Sparks, are you taking Kiki Iriafen because she's the second best player in the draft, or are you taking Olivia Miles because we need a guard?
I'm taking Olivia Miles because she's Olivia Miles, not just because we need a guard. We need a guard like Olivia Miles, and plenty of teams do. Maybe every team does. She's that special, in my opinion. She's going to be an instant game changer for whatever franchise she goes to at the point guard position. So I think based on their roster, that clip was you talking about the draft from that happened this year, getting ready for this year's draft. And you felt like the Sparks needed to go with a big, and Paige didn't come out, and so she wasn't in that draft, but the Sparks ended up with Cam Brink.
Yep.
Ended up drafting again, getting Rakia. So they got a big and a wing. Now feels like the time for them to get the most dynamic point guard in this draft and change the trajectory of their franchise. I see a world where they could go with Kiki, and it's not just the talent that she's the second best player in the draft. There's a fit there. She just played with Cam Brink in college. So there's some built-in chemistry. She's at USC. So I'm pretty sure she's from California, if I'm not mistaken. I think I heard that something about her connection to California when she transferred to USC. But they could keep her there. She's building roots kind of out west in California. So there are things that may point to it making sense. And again, she works on the floor with Cam Brink. She's mobile. She's versatile. It's not even like a Twin Towers thing. There's room for her. Now they also have De'Arica Hamby. So, they may be good in the front court, but I could see if they want to load up a little bit. Who knows what their feelings are about like Hamby on the team going forward. Like if they feel like they want to pair one of the best young front courts together again, who just played in college. I could see that happening too, because it's not like LA doesn't have good guards. They have good guards, but again, Olivia Miles is a special opportunity to bring in a special point guard. And I think it would make plenty of sense for them to go with Olivia.
I agree. I do think it makes sense for them to go to Lee. I told you this. We talked about this last season. We talked about it this morning. I get twisted in the head when it comes to drafts, right? And I think it's not always about just best player available. It's about the need. And I was very adamant last season that the need last season was getting a big. They went out and they got Cameron Brink. The need this season is a guard. To your point, they have a lot of talented guards on this team. They have Lexi Brown. They have Ray Burrell, who we talked about at the top of the show briefly with Unrivaled. Like, it's not that they are bereft of talent at the guard position, but to your point, Olivia Miles is special. And I think if you have a special young big and a special young wing and a special young point guard, that will do wonders for your organization for years to come. An organization who, just like the Wings and just like the other three teams, the other two teams in this draft lottery we're going to talk about in just a second, they also need a head coach. Like, this is also culture changing and also like setting forth what the agenda, if you will, for the next 3, 5, 7, maybe even 10 years is going to be. And so, again, we've been very adamant on this show that there is talent coming down the pipe next year and the year after that and the year after that. But we also know that right now there are a lot of young teams who have put themselves in positions to be competitive. The Indiana Fever are going to be competitive for years to come. The Dallas Wings with Paige are going to be competitive for years to come. The Chicago Sky, and we'll talk about in a second, under the new regime and under the new, tutelage of Tyler Marsh, they're going to be competitive for years to come. The Sparks don't want to fall behind. They want to stay lockstep. And I think, as do you think, Olivia Miles is the basketball player that's going to make sure that they can stay lockstep with all these other young franchises across the league. That's not to say that Kiki's not talented, that she wouldn't fit, because like you said, she just spent several years playing with Cam Brink in Stanford and they had a lot of success there. But that's not what they need right now. And I think they would be okay passing on Kiki. No one would be surprised if they took him, but me personally, I would be very adamant about saying, Kiki's great, Kiki's phenomenal. But we want to get a guard. We want to get a guard that we can that can sustain this offense, that can run this offense, that can get the ball where it needs to be, and can also help us defensively as well.
I mean, bro, I love you, but you're still missing it. You're still missing it. You're talking about just a point guard. We're talking about Olivia Miles, dog. Showtime. We're talking about LA. Showtime. We're talking about pushing that ball up and down the floor, which is why my thing is, I know we're going to talk about Chicago. The Chicago Sky better pray to God that Olivia Miles falls to them at number 3, because they need her desperately. What Olivia Miles does at a high level, at a special level, pushing the ball, it's not about putting the ball in the right place. Anyone can do that. Olivia Miles is a game changer of a guard. She changes your entire offense. It's not just getting the ball where it needs to be. No, she will throw you open. She throws people open. She knows you're open before you know it. She like, I'm telling you, bro, this chick is one of the best passers I've ever seen. Right? So when she comes in, like, LA, that's Showtime. Why not go with that? And I also love the fact that because a lot of people are talking and vouching for, like, this feels like a race for who's getting Olivia Miles. And I'm glad that Liv is back now. And I'm glad that people are understanding that she is a bona fide top 3 talent. And fans seem kind of like competing for her. Like, the LA fans want her. Chicago fans know they need her. Like, I'm glad that that's the case, because I promise you, bro, she's one of those that's about to take the product of basketball and the WNBA to another level for whatever franchise she goes to. I just think, I think LA is gonna. I think it makes sense for them to go with Olivia, bro. It's a game changing move. Kiki's a game changing move, but when you look at Olivia as a point guard, it's almost like unfair.
Unfair. I mean,
she's gonna change everything, bro.
Let's say the Sparks do draft Kiki Iriafen, right? Is that them not being aggressive enough? Would you say, with like being committed to taking the next steps and getting back to like the championship caliber team that they were just less than a decade ago, or is it just a matter of fit and what they think would be a better fit.
If they're going with Kiki, it's because the coach or whoever, there's a philosophy in place that they want to be big.
Okay.
That's where if they were to go with Kiki, that in my basketball mind, it's, they want to have one of the best front courts in the league. They want to be big and be good inside and kind of fill out the rest. They've got an up and coming elite wing. So like, again, you might be able to just figure it out with your guards at that point. Maybe you can make a little move, in your guard rotation in the future, but that's all that would signal to me. Like, they're still going to be good. We both agree Kiki is special.
Yeah.
In her own way, the kind of special that Olivia Miles is as a point guard. That's why I say Chicago needs her is it should be obvious, goes without saying. It's because Angel Reese needs her.
Yeah.
Olivia Miles would change Angel Reese's basketball life like she has no idea. Maybe she does have an idea, and she better be campaigning and praying along with the franchise that Olivia falls to 3, because I'm telling you, bro, you play with a point guard like that, life changes. And making the game easier for Angel would only, like, you want to see her development, you want to see her develop and take it to another level. Give her a point guard like Olivia Miles and watch what happens with them running up and down the floor, getting after it. That like they better hope, and because it's cool that, like, again, Olivia, it's feeling like a little like it's the Paige sweepstakes, and then after that it feels like the Olivia sweepstakes in a way, because these teams need a special point guard.
These teams do need a special point guard. You've alluded to Angel Reese in Chicago. Let's toss it to a clip of us talking a little bit about Chicago after the draft last season.
This is the best offensive rebounding duo in the country, and they're on the same team. Like Camilla said, nobody's getting rebounds on us, and people laugh, but like, it's gonna be very difficult to get rebounds, defensive rebounds anyway, on these two, like, because they led the country together in offensive rebounds as a duo. Like, that is what you need when you like that ferocity, that tenacity, that ferociousness, that aggression to attack the boards is what you need for a young team. Like, and they have other pieces, right? We had Chaz Franklin on our show about a month or so ago, and he was talking about Marina Mabry and Dana Evans and all the other complementary piece they have in Chicago. Like, all of that together, like, they got hoopers and they have toughness. And this is a team right now in Chicago that embodies all of the things that you would say embodied Teresa Weatherspoon as a player when she was playing.
I think ferocity was the word you were looking for.
Ferocity was the word I was looking for there. I cringed at the fact that I couldn't say that word the right way. That's annoying to me.
You made up for it.
I did. So let's live in this reality where Olivia Miles is off the board at 2 and the LA Sparks win the Olivia Miles sweepstakes. Kiki Iriafen still on the board. There's also a litany of other players on the board at 3. Azzy Fudge, Janiyah Barker, Anissa Morrow, other guards as well, Cheyenne Sellers, etc., etc. Who does Chicago draft if Olivia Miles isn't available? We know that if LA goes the Kiki route, they will take Olivia Miles in a heartbeat. But whose name gets called in April if Olivia Miles goes to LA for Chicago? I think
that's going to be the most interesting thing, is if LA takes Olivia off the board, where does Chicago go? Because that's a scenario where I don't think they just automatically go with the best player available in Kiki. I mean, sometimes, I mean, it varies. It depends, but some people go with talent. Some people prioritize fit. I don't know if it would make a ton of sense to anybody in their right mind to go with Kiki at 3 when you have your front court already. So, and it's interesting because, like, I think it's different than LA, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Brink.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I don't want to cut you off, but it looks like we have a head coach in LA. The head coach of Utah women's basketball, Lynn Roberts, is going to be the head coach.
Another college one. Who did the Florida Gulf Coast coach just get hired by?
Atlanta. Yeah. So another coach from the college ranks is coming to the WNBA again. Utah head coach Lynn Roberts has been named head coach of the LA Sparks. So we now know who their coach is going to be.
Interesting. That's an offensive coach.
Do you think? I was going to ask you.
Was playing the last few years. That's an offensive coach that believes in offensive basketball, spacing, 3-point shooting, pace, versatility. Just based on what Olivia Miles then now.
with
Yes.
her being the head coach. Yeah.
That's a signal to me. That
Okay.
I feel like that's a signal. I don't know. Again, I'm just going off of the product of Utah from watching them a ton with Alyssa
Sure.
Peely the last couple years.
Right.
And the product of basketball, it seems like that they play heavy, pass heavy. I mean, think about Alyssa Peely and her passing ability. And Utah was leading the country in assists.
They were
last year with Alyssa Peely. So that signals to me that's the kind of style that coach likes, and that signals that's Olivia Miles. That's
all right. So let's reframe the question. Looks like Olivia might be going to LA now. So I mean, again, like we're talking about what Chicago does. I think now Chicago has to dig a little deeper and figure out what happens here at 3.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. I'm honestly I'm a little stumped. So the ESPN mock draft has AZ Fudd going to Chicago at 3. And they have Kiki going. They have Kiki going to LA at 2. They have Olivia dropping to 4 to go to Washington.
Please bring her here. Please bring her here.
You want to see Showtime? You want to, yeah. So you can see it for yourself in person.
Bring her here. Oh my gosh, bring her.
No, but what I was gonna say before, bro, real quick. I think the Kiki, like the prospect of Kiki going to Chicago, like Chicago wanting to add her, I think that's different than LA, like the front court dynamic. Because I just think I think Cam Brink and De'Arica Hamby are like I feel like you could work Kiki into that. Like I think Cam Brink and De'Arica are like they're both so good and so skilled that they're like a little thinner. They're like more like, you know, they're not like super physical, like, you know, and Kiki plays a little more physical style brand of basketball than the two of them, I would say, you know. So, and they're all versatile. They can all step out and shoot a little bit. So Chicago would be different. Like Kiki would not, like with Angel, Camilla, like that's definitely a no-go. That's why I'm like, I think LA is still in the mid. Like I still think that there's room for that. And that would make sense in some ways if LA wants to go with Kiki. But yeah, bro, I don't know. I'm stumped at 3. Here's the thing for me about AZ Fudd. She's getting ready to come back and start hooping again now. She's had so many injury problems, and she's just getting back into the groove now. She's got work to do to get her stock, I think, up to a number 3 worthy pick to be the next guard taken after Paige, after Olivia Miles. Like, she may be the next best guard available, but and I think Azzy at her best is a top 3 to 5 talent. But we've got to see her play into that a little bit more now. So I don't know if, and even at her best, I don't know if she's a great shot maker, great shooter. Olivia Miles is the ideal pick for Chicago. I'm just telling, like they could use a point guard badly, but not just a point guard, Olivia Miles, like her specifically. Cause I'm not talking like Georgia Amore, Sanaya Rivers, Pow. Like, I mean, these are good guards, but Chicago needs Olivia Miles so badly. I can't stress that enough.
So I think it's interesting, and I know we talked about this briefly this morning, and I know you don't think that she is top 3 talent, and I'm inclined to agree with you. I don't think in a perfect scenario where Olivia Miles is on the board at 3, I don't think she's getting picked 3rd, but I think this is the reality that we're in. We're in a reality where, especially now after this new head coaching hire, it's looking more and more likely that Olivia Miles is going to LA. I think Chicago will draft Aneesah Morrow at 3. I really do. For a couple reasons. First of all, similarly to how we talk about the consideration for Kiki to LA with the familiarity with Cam Brink, there is familiarity with Aneesah Morrow and Angel Reese from their time at LSU together. There's that. We also know from having watched Rickea Jackson play basketball last season how important it is to have a versatile wing player. Now, Rickea Jackson's significantly better than Aneesah Morrow. There's I won't tell you that they're on the same level because personally I don't think they are. But I do think that Chicago could benefit from a player with the size and the versatility and the shot-making ability of Aneesah Morrow. And for what it's worth and for nothing else, a fully healthy Angel Reese and a fully healthy Camila Cardoso, I already acknowledged in that clip from April after the draft, is one of the best, if not the best, rebounding front court duo in the WNBA. When you add Aneesah Morrow to that, a player who in her career averages 21 and 12 in her first season at LSU last season, she was, I think, 5th or 6th in the country in double doubles. Adding that only increases your stock as a rebounding team, and it just gives you another option offensively. And I like the idea of Anissa Morrow in Chicago for no reason other than the fit. I don't think talent-wise we're having a conversation about Anissa Morrow going 3rd overall. If not for it would be a good fit. And so if they can't get Olivia, I think that the campaign from Angel Reese to kind of pull that card shifts from we really, really, really need Olivia Miles to go get Anissa Morrow. I know how she plays. We play well off each other together, and that could work. And so for what it's worth, the Kiki Iriafen move, it's not happening for all the reasons you mentioned. It's just not going to be a good fit. Anissa Morrow will be a better fit. And I don't think there's any guard other than Olivia Miles that the Chicago Sky could realistically look at in draft and think would benefit them better than any of the guards that they have right now. That's just my opinion.
So, okay, I know what I said about AZ. I'll circle back on that. Again, if she plays her way back to form, she's such a great shot-making guard, such a great offensive weapon. I do think that is what Chicago could use and needs. They need, I mean, they losing Marina Mabry, you know how I felt about that.
Absolutely.
That was it for them, in my opinion. Like they still need another shot-making guard. I know Kennedy Carter's there. I think she's a free agent. We'll see if she's sticking around.
She is. I think she's restricted, though.
Well, okay. Well, yeah. So we'll see what their guard situation is like. You know, I just think of, AZ Fudd. She's not a lead guard, and I would love it more if I knew that they had another lead guard there that could be that. But they do need a shot maker. They do need perimeter shot making and good offensive talented guards like they had in Marina Mabry. So in that sense, I like the idea of AZ Fudd. I disagree on Anissa Morrow, and it's actually the other way around with what you said. Like, I think her talent is fine. I don't think that fit works at all. You say her size, she's an undersized big. She's 6'1". She doesn't add size. If you're going for Anissa Morrow, you might as well just draft Kiki, in my opinion. Anissa Morrow is going to have an interesting transition to the WNBA as an undersized big, because what she does so well in college, being a double monster, that's not going to be the case. She's not going to be on some angel stuff coming in right away. You
don't think if they moved her and to make it fit with the two of them down low that it could work or mitigate the fact that she's undersized? That's my thinking, is not that she's playing front court predominantly, but that she's just on the floor with them and working to adjust that way.
Well, yeah, I know. I was going to say, I think she works as a 3. That's part of her transition, is figuring out her position in the WNBA. Sure. And when you don't know a player's true position, they got to be special to take them top 3. You get what I mean? So
that's a good point. Yeah.
I think she'll probably go top 10. She may deserve that, but I think that's kind of, I think that's a little bit of a reach. But listen, like I said, I don't think anything is. I think that's where Chicago's going to really have to do their due diligence and homework and look at these players this season over these next few months and figure out what they feel like they really want out of some of these players. Because they, like I said, there are good guards. If you want a good shot making guard, just, draft Pow. It's the number 3 pick. Maybe people look at you sideways, but if your priority is a really good guard, or just a guard, get you a guard. There are still good guards available. I think Sanaya Rivers could be a surprise for people. I think she's going to be a really good pro, just with her skill set and her talent and ability and athleticism. That may be shooting high for her, but Cheyenne Sellers. I know we both love Cheyenne Sellers. In fact, more people are going to learn how good Cheyenne Sellers is this year. I talked about Maryland and their transfers and stuff, but I failed to mention somehow what makes it so powerful and significant is that they have a real dynamic player already on the roster in Cheyenne Sellers. She is like that at the guard position, and more people are going to find that out throughout the season. So she's draft eligible. Maybe she plays her way into that kind of stock, but man, that's going to be, if Chicago is going to have some thinking to do, if they can't get Olivia Miles, they're going to have to figure out that pick.
So that brings us down to the 4th leg of the lottery, and the one that I think is the most intriguing, simply because they don't just have the 4th pick, they also have the 6th pick in the draft as well, thanks to a trade with Atlanta. That is the Washington Mystics, who can benefit from a litany of players. But again, in this reality where Olivia Miles is 2, and it's highly unlikely that Kiki Iriafen then is drafted at 3 with Chicago, unless Coach Marsh and the coaching staff are just absolutely convinced that they can make that trio of Cardoso and Reese and Iriafen work. Does that then mean that the no-brainer pick for the Mystics at 4 is Kiki Iriafen to pair her up down low with a Shakira Austin to bring her on the team with an Aaliyah Edwards and all that they have brewing here? Would that then be the card needs to be in Kathy's hand as soon as the pick goes in for Chicago type of situation? I feel like the odds of Kiki falling to 4, a couple months ago seemed really unlikely, but that's kind of the beauty of the draft lottery, right? Is things change depending on who wins and where everything falls. So the more and more I think about it, the more and more I think about, Kiki Iriafen, it's very likely will be the 4th player off the board and she'll end up here in DC.
Wow. Isn't it crazy how we're talking about because you mentioned, a lot of these teams have front courts already. They may not all be elite, right?
Yes.
But they have a lot of these teams have good established front courts already. Mm-hmm. So we agreed that I had said that I feel like LA, Kiki can work with the LA front court.
She could.
Chicago, maybe I'd have to talk my way into that. The only thing I would like about it is that Kiki's the one out of the 3 between her, Angel, and Camilla who more so shoots the ball and has the shooting touch. So maybe incorporating that, it just adds a different skill set and gives you more spacing between the 3, more defined skill sets between the 3 of them. So, maybe like you had said, if they feel like that's just the best player available, we're just going to get her and figure it out. We feel like we can make it work. You mentioned Washington, Shakira Austin, Aaliyah Edwards, that's there. Now, I think that front court works for Kiki. I think that might be the best, honestly, out of all of those. To me, that sounds like a really good spot. I think Kiki and Aaliyah Edwards together, fine. Any combination of those two you can put on the floor together. If you want to go big, maybe who knows if Kiki can maybe be a 3. Maybe she could play a little perimeter, at the next level. But maybe they're on the floor together. But go with Kiki at 4. If she's available at 4, I think the Mystics have to steal her. That has to be the move, and then you can get a guard or a wing at 6.
So I think the one thing that's interesting, obviously he's not the head coach anymore because he's been relieved of his duties, but throughout the course of the season, one thing that Coach Tebow made a priority of was getting Aaliyah Edwards and Shakira Austin on the floor as much as possible. It was difficult, obviously, with injury things, but if Kiki comes to DC, I do think based on what I was able to see from the games that I went to and the games that I covered, I think it would be, and obviously it of course depends on who the new head coach is, obviously, but I do think it is likely that if Kiki is coming to Washington, they would likely try to have Aaliyah Edwards play that 3 a little bit more than Kiki, for no reason other than we've seen Aaliyah in spurts play the 3 in DC with what they already have, and so she's kind of already familiar with what that looks like. But to your point, Kiki Iriafen, this is a player, she's the best post player in the country. She's a player that in the tournament run last season with Stanford was being compared to Asia Wilson because of her face-up game and how just dominant she looked on the post on both sides of the block, and her face-up game and her ability to shoot and the way that she's able to spread the floor a little bit. That is something that the Mystics have been missing. The Mystics have been missing someone that they can reliably count on to hit shots down low. There is obviously as well, and this isn't something that was talked about much over the course of the season because she took a step away from basketball for the year, but there is obviously as well the looming possibility of Elena Delle Donne coming back as well. And so whether or not she's returning or whether she has any imprint on this team, whether it's they do what they can to try to convince her to come back or whether she's deciding already that she is coming back to DC and not coming back to basketball to play elsewhere, that's another thing they have to think about. But I would say, considering that component of it as well, Kiki at 4, if she's available, makes it even more of a no-brainer because we know how important it is for teams to have unicorns. And I think that Kiki would be the next unicorn in the WNBA. And this is a team in Washington that has had one of the WNBA's unicorn at a similar position with slightly similar play styles be successful for the franchise. And so I absolutely think that Kiki would be a great fit with Aaliyah and Shakira. And there would need to be a bit of moving around, to your point, because this team is starting to get a little long, which is something I didn't really anticipate if you're adding Kiki into the fold as well, but it would be great for them. And for what it's worth, the last thing I'll say is we have to remember too, the Mystics are a lot better than their record of the last 2 years have indicated. The Mystics do not have a top 4 pick in this year's draft because they have been bad the last 2 years. They have a top 4 pick in this year's draft because they've been hurt a lot the last 2 years. And so they have a great opportunity with 4 and 6 and bringing everyone back fully healthy next season to really make noise and get back to where we saw them a couple years ago, which was in the championship picture.
Yeah, they got to go with Kiki. Like, last thing I'll say on her is that she has that motor where, again, she's going to have that instant impact. You know, I love me good runners. She's just a hard, strong runner. And then, yeah, all the skill set stuff, the shooting, the face-up game and all that. But, like, she has the motor, that aggression. Like, she plays so freaking hard. And she brings that motor. That's why she's going to bring, like, a winning culture right away wherever she goes. Last thing I'll say quickly on the draft is that, you know, looking at these mock drafts, every team in the first round is going to get a good player that is probably going to make the team and be ready to play right away. Like, ESPN's mock draft has Sony Citron going to Phoenix at 12, the last pick of the first round. Sonia Citron. This girl, Dominique Malunga out of France, you better watch out for her. If she goes to the New York Liberty, that's bad news. That's the Liberty have the 7th pick. The Indiana Fever have the 8th pick. These teams are going to get good players.
Yeah.
This is a deep draft. Everyone's going to get a good player.
Yeah. This is a deep draft, and I'm very, very excited for it. We talk about so much talent coming into the league. We talk about the growth of the league. A part of the growth of the league, obviously, is expansion. We have the expansion draft coming up for the Golden State Valkyries, who are picking 5th in this year's draft. That expansion draft is unironically December 5th. The Toronto team and the Portland teams will be joining the league in 2026, I believe. But Martin, you are particularly adamant about one particular city being added to the WNBA family, and that city, of course, is Philadelphia. Why does Philadelphia need a team in the WNBA?
Well, I think I've just been, when I started looking into this and wanted to bring this up, I've just been a little confused and frustrated. I'm not from Philly. I don't have any ties to Philly other than playing college ball right outside of Philly. I've got friends in Philly, you know, I mean, it's a great city, but I have no inherent commitment or affiliation with Philadelphia. But as we all know, it's one of the premier sports cities. And I'm just getting a little confused why we're making so much progress on adding all these new teams. We've got Toronto and Portland coming. Golden State starts next year. Then I start doing my research about stuff. I didn't even need research to see this. It's all over social media. Patrick Mahomes and his wife want to bring a team to Kansas City. Jason Tatum wants to bring a team to St. Louis. Kevin Durant is apparently linked to an ownership group that's interested in bringing a team to Austin, Texas. And then when I start doing my research to find out where are we on Philadelphia, where's the momentum, where's the energy behind Philly, I run into Pittsburgh as a city that is being seriously considered. Apparently, I've got quotes here written from Mark Cuban, of all people, saying, vouching for Pittsburgh as a potential future city for a WNBA team. I mean, what are we doing? I mean, Pittsburgh, nothing against Pittsburgh, nothing against any of those cities. But where is all this progress coming from? All these cities all over the place. I mean, Toronto, for Christ's sakes, Portland. What are we? Who's not doing their job well enough to get the right people together to make this Philadelphia thing happen? See, this is why, Marcus, Philly people are the way they are. This is exactly why I thought about this earlier. This is exactly why they are the way. This is why Rocky, the underdog. You guys count us out. You disrespect us. You don't think we're the real deal. This is exactly why. It's stuff like this, because where is the energy for Philly? So the top candidates now for new cities for a WNBA team, the cities that I collected from all my research, cities that I've seen mentioned online at some point as real potential contenders for a WNBA franchise: Charlotte, Nashville, Houston, Denver, Cleveland, Orlando, Miami, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia. Now, some of those cities had teams before: Houston, Charlotte, Cleveland, Miami. It'd be cool to bring back some of those franchises. I know. So you assume at least Houston might be coming back. Charlotte's probably coming back. They're going to make all this progress. I mean, bro, Milwaukee, Nashville, Pittsburgh. Come on, Philly. Come on, somebody. Will Smith, somebody. I mean, who does it need to be, bro? I'm very confused about why there's not more energy behind this. And lastly, you brought up this point when I talked about this last week and ranted about it, but nobody heard it because we had technical issues and no audio. The Sixers ain't doing them any favors, giving Philadelphia fans anything to root for these days. They got this new arena they're building in Center City, and apparently Sixers officials are saying that they're building it with partnering with the WNBA team in mind in the near future. Well, they need to make that more of a priority because these Philly fans need some new basketball to commit to and to follow and support because the Sixers are just a disaster right now. So, I mean, bro, look at all the girls coming up in the next few years, bro. If there's not a Philly team, if people aren't working on a Philly team soon, that's a disgrace. That's a disgrace. What are we doing? That's going to be the final blow, the final like big bang for the WNBA, Marcus, when we finally get the word that Philly is seriously in the works for a WNBA team, because they're all so far it's just rumors and Kathy saying, oh yeah, we like Philly and Philly's on the list and they're on the list and whatever. No, I need names. I want names. I want reports. I want quotes. Mark Cuban is out here talking about Pittsburgh. What is going on? Come on, Philly. We need that. We need that, bro. You know it and I know it.
I do know this. Philly is an exceptional sports town. It is one that deserves a basketball team worth cheering for, and not one whose process they've been trusting for the last 14 years that's resulted in a bunch of nothing. They do need it. Maybe it'll take Dawn Staley. Maybe that's what it takes. Maybe it takes Dawn Staley.
From money perspective is why I think Will Smith. Dawn Staley may need to offer to coach the team. She may need to retire to because I don't know. I mean, I know she's got tons of influence. She's probably got plenty of money too. But Dawn needs to be on the front lines at least advocating for this. But she needs to offer to like coach the team though, for just for posterity.
Well, I sit here and I think about it. Dawn played for Charlotte. Do you think she'd be more adamant to get a team to Philly or a team back in Charlotte? Where do you think she would?
Philly.
Where do you think she
Philly?
would?
It's about Philly.
You're right. She's from Philly. I know. Okay.
Yeah. No.
In the defense of some of these cities, they did have teams before, so I understand why they're looking to bring them back. But I will agree with you. If you're asking me to pick between Milwaukee, St. Louis, Kansas City, and Nashville,
Pittsburgh,
there needs to be a team in Philadelphia. I'm locked up with you there. I don't think the Mahomes deserve anything else. I won't say on air what I said to you over text message about the Mahomeses, but they don't need anything else related to sports. They have the soccer team, they've got the Chiefs, they have it all. They are good. I don't want to see Brittany Mahomes any more than I have already. I'm getting sick of her. I'm probably sicker of her than I am of seeing Taylor Swift in the booth of the Chiefs game. So I'm good there. St. Louis is interesting, and that's only gaining traction because it's Jason Tatum, and he's saying he's going to commit $200 million. I mean, before that, no one was talking about a team in St. Louis. So I understand what's happening there. But no, if you're telling me that you're going to put a team in Pennsylvania and you're going to pick Pittsburgh over Philadelphia, then we need to get some cognitive assessments taken care of. We need to figure out who's making these decisions.
This is why these Philly people are the way they are, Marcus.
No, it is.
It's exactly why, because we keep doing it to them.
I understand that.
Yeah, it's because we keep doing it to them.
Yeah, Philly people, they're like the member of the family that's so misunderstood until you sit down one night at Thanksgiving and just talk to him, and then you understand, oh, that's why he's crazy. Now I understand. Philly, I get it. I apologize. So all my friends from Philly, I understand. No, but I do think a team should have. I think a team will end up in Philly. I do think so. Kathy's been very adamant that the goal is to get 18 teams by the time we get to 2028. By the time we finish 2026, we'll be at 15. So one of those next three teams, I do think will be Philly. I think it might be, and I'm just trying to play a little devil's advocate, trying to cut a little bit of slack. I do think that maybe we're just waiting on that new arena in Center City to be built, and then the announcement will come. That might just be what it is. I think some of these other cities probably have already have the infrastructure in place. And if Sixers officials are being adamant about we're going to build a new arena for both, then maybe that's what they're waiting for. But in the best interest of whatever the Philadelphia team is in the WNBA, I would strongly advocate for no member of the Sixers brass to be associated with the Philadelphia WNBA team, because clearly they do not know how to run a basketball organization. That is a conversation for another day. Before we get out of here, real quick, there's one player in the country that has caught Martin's attention. There's one player in the country that's caught my attention. There's one player in the country that's caught a lot of people's attention, and she seems to have taken that next step.
Flau'jae Johnson is the key for that team. She may be good enough. Like she's not just a 3-and-D role player right now. She's a high-level two-way basketball player. She will take over the game. She will take over the game mode right now. She's that good as a wing player. Yeah, I honestly feel like I was seeing this build up from last year in the postseason. Flau'jae Johnson is becoming one of the top players in the country, if she's not that already. Right now, she's averaging 23.7 rebounds on 60% shooting from the field. That's 60, and 42% from three. She's on another level efficiency wise. Like last year, she was averaging 15. She went from 15 to 23. She's only taking a few more shots a game, but the efficiency is really the story here. But like I said, I really feel like I was seeing this build up last year in the postseason, and that's why I brought that up. Even going back to the SEC tournament, she put up 25 against Auburn, 21 against Ole Miss. She was second team All SEC. She'll be first team All SEC this year and possibly a first team All American with the way that she's playing. And then she had 23 against Iowa in that Elite Eight game. I mean, she had 24 and 12 against UCLA in the Sweet 16. So she was just starting to put up 20+ point games. And I'm like, yo, she's looking better and better and smoother and just better each game. Her shooting, like, I think at first, that's why I brought up the term 3-and-D, because I feel like at first we were looking at Flau'jae as like super athletic, great on defense, great instincts, and then she would kind of hit shots here or there. She reminded me a lot of Essence Carson. Now she's looking like a bona fide scorer. And like I said in the clip, that was from earlier this year during March Madness. Like, she's turning into a top tier elite level two-way player. And you talk about star power. I can't wait till she comes up to get to the WNBA, especially because of her off the court star power as a rapper. Like, you know, and the girl can really rap too. Like, it's not, I mean, she's literally a star as a rapper. And now she's becoming even more of a star as a basketball player. So her stardom is just like so unique right now. And she's another one where I think the more people get to watch her this year, they're gonna be like, wait, that's Big Four? That's the rapper? Like, she hoops like that? Yeah, no, she's like that right now. She's like that.
Yeah, I will say too, I said this to you, and the reason why the question is she a top 5 player in the country is because of the basketball I've seen so far. She has looked like one of the 5 best players in the country to me. I would say my top 5, the only players I would probably, say have been better than her this season have been Juju, Hannah, and Paige. I would put her 4 as the 4th best player I've seen. Now, obviously, I've watched every single player play basketball this season, but of all of the basketball that I've consumed so far, the season's young. It's only, we're talking 2.5 weeks old. But of all the basketball I've consumed so far this season, Flau'jae Johnson is playing like one of the 5 best players in the country. She's playing like she's going to end up in the running for National Player of the Year if she keeps this up. She's playing like she's going to be in the running for SEC Player of the Year if she keeps this up. You've talked about first team All SEC, but like, as I told you on Sunday, when I was just kind of like, when it just hit me, like, whoa, like, she's playing great. She looks quicker off the bounce. She's much sharper with her decision making, offensively and defensively as well. Like, just if she's going to commit to being active in the passive lane, she's committing to that. If she's going to be committing to a shot, she's going to commit to it for whatever it is. Her shot making has gotten better. You mentioned it, 60% from the field. I don't know if we have not seen her be this efficient so far in her career. And if she continues this, dude, I don't know. We might be talking about a Flau'jae Johnson sweepstakes when it's time for her to come out of the draft about whether she's going to be the first pick in her draft class. She's been playing really great. So if the question is she a top 5 player in the country, so far, there's only 3 players I would say have definitively been better than her this season. And so to me, she has been top 5. She's been playing that good, bro. And if she keeps this up, we talked about on the show in the tournament how she was kind of willing LSU on in some of those wins before they ultimately were knocked out. If she keeps this up, we're going to be in another situation where she might be able to, put LSU on her back and carry them into a deep run in the tournament. She's been playing that great. And to be a superstar off the court with the rapping and performing with Lil Wayne and all that stuff, and then also be a superstar on the floor, bro, it is nuts to see how much growth she's shown from last season to this season. I'm looking forward to the rest of the year.
And something you just said, so I was gonna say, like, she's got like a craftiness about her, her game, like just very crafty, very athletic. Yeah, the shot making really sticks out to me, especially off the bounce. As you mentioned, she just seems like she looks just better, smoother off the bounce. She's playing top 5 basketball. Oh, what I was going to say is it's not about her carrying on the back. Her and Michaela Williams, we'll be talking about Michaela Williams at some point this year. Her and Michaela Williams are now leading the charge, and they still got your girl Anissa Morrow, who you think should be a top 3 draft pick. So they got a nice little big 3 still. They got a nice group. Pow just came back for that, or not Pow.
Last year
Pow. Yep. She just came back for them. They have a solid group, but Flau'jae is now feels like, yeah, for sure, their best player.
Yeah, that's what I mean when I say backpack. They'll be looking to her in those moments when they need a shot.
They will. Her and Michaela Williams seem like they're going to become like that 2-headed perimeter monster this year together. But Flau'jae has taken best player. She's taken that mantle. She's their go-to now. And yeah, it's really impressive, man. It's really impressive. I think like, when you watch her, she's such a hooper. And I think it speaks to, like, she clearly just works on her game. Like, I don't know. It's hard to kind of explain, but when you watch that kind of improvement, it's really a testament to, like, she is working on her game. Crazy. And it makes me think just like her work ethic, and to have the kind of work ethic where you can be a legitimate rap star doing music videos and all that, and being a college basketball star, especially nowadays with NIL and everything. I mean, that obviously clearly is going to take a special kind of work ethic, and that's what she has. That's just what she has, man. So I love how you put it. Her potential, her ceiling for the WNBA, possibly being a lottery pick, like that is absolutely in her future, the way she's playing now.
I can't wait to continue to watch how this season unfolds for her and how the season unfolds for LSU. Bro, speaking of, look, there's so much talent in the world of women's basketball, right? There's a lot of talent all over the place. You got Juju, you got Hannah, you got Flau'jae. Obviously, something that caught your eye, that in turn caught my eye, because we kind of talked about it a little bit, is the idea of some potential one-on-ones with some of these very talented players in the country. And so, shout out to Highlight Her, because they kind of posted it, and we kind of sat back and we looked at it. Some of the names that they're matching up against each other are some really interesting. You got Hannah Hidalgo versus Raven Johnson. You got Malaysia versus Flau'jae. You're talking Audi Crooks versus Kiki Iriafen. We saw a little bit of that when Stanford played Ohio State last season in the tournament. Tessa Johnson and KK Arnold. Juju versus Flau'jae. Olivia and Hannah one-on-one. Just for a little bit. I can imagine what those practices are like when they're going head up. And right. Paige and Juju. Martin, is there a one-on-one that you have vested, like one that you really, really want to see? Like 2 players you really want to see go head up?
I mean, right now, if there was an event where we could pick 2 of the top, or just any 2 women's college basketball players to play one-on-one, it's pretty ironic. I think I'm going Juju against Hannah. I would pay money to see that. Like, and they play this Saturday, like we talked about. But I would love to. I would pay money to see that. I just would.
Who do you think wins? We're going to a game 2-11.
Bro, that's gonna make my head hurt. It's gonna make my head hurt. It's war. It's war, bro. I can't give you a definitive answer. I can't. My bias is gonna pick Hannah, but I just knowing Hannah, I don't pick against Hannah. I rarely pick against Hannah, so I'll just put it that way.
I got you. That's fire, bro.
I'll give the quick analysis on it. Hannah's quickness would be the difference, I think. Okay. I think Hannah, with one-on-one, it's always like who can guard who better. Yeah. And I mean, Juju has the size, she can create any shot, all that, but I think Hannah's quickness and her somewhat underrated strength would be the difference. And Juju guarding Hannah, I think, might be a little bit more of a challenge for the same reason, the quickness. I think that would be the difference.
That's
3 dribbles. We're talking 3 dribbles. Hey, again, we won't go. Maybe we'll do that another time. But contact matters in the ones. Contact matters.
That's a good point. Contact matters. I was thinking we saw a glimpse of it last season in Paris to kick off last season. I would be interested in seeing Hannah and Malaysia go one-on-one. I think that would be very fire.
That'd be fun, yeah.
That would be very fire. But one that I thought was interesting is, we talked about how Kiki Iriafen's the best post player in the country. Last week, I talked about how Lauren Bett has been looking like the best center in the country, at least. I would love to see that matchup between the two of them. I think Kiki would win it, just I think she has a little bit more in her bag offensively from a shot making standpoint. But I think that would be a tough matchup for Kiki just because Lauren's bigger. She's not, she's a good defender. I think that'd be interesting. But I would really, really be interested to see Malaysia Flau'jae and Hannah Hidalgo in a game of 1s to 11. You would pay money. I would pay money to see any of these, but you'd pay money to see Hannah versus Juju. I would certainly pay money to see Malaysia and Hannah go
one-on-one.
That would be good.
That's worth the money. Who would pay? Who's the ideal for Paige? I was sitting here trying to rack my brain.
Who's the idea for Paige? They put Paige versus
one-on-one.
They put Paige versus Juju.
Right. I know they did, but who would be your idea?
I want to see Paige.
Yeah, who would you want to see Paige against one-on-one? Because I'm not Juju. I think I'd pick Juju in that. Not to say easily, but I mean that sounds good. It's good name recognition. Would be a great game, I'm sure. But I'm thinking who would be my ideal? Juju isn't the first. I want to see Juju versus Hannah. That's I'm on that side. Who's the ideal one-on-one for Paige?
She's not in college. I'd love to see Paige versus Caitlin.
That's the
one. Right? I feel like that's the one. I feel like that's the one.
Like they are. Isn't it crazy how Paige and Caitlin have yet to establish a true rivalry? I think it'll start in the W.
It'll start in the W.
In the W, maybe their teams start to, but it's there's so much Angel and Caitlin smoke already that Paige is kind of just an outlier. But man, it's just interesting how they don't have a real rivalry yet. Not really among fans. I've seen it a little bit among fans. People like to argue who's better or whatever, but
that's because all these Caitlin fans forgot who the OG was before she got hurt. It was Paige. I would love to see Paige versus Caitlin. I know she's not in college, obviously, but I would love to see Paige versus Caitlin one-on-one. That will probably be the one. I can't think of a player right now that's in college. Not to say that we wouldn't get good ones, but I can't think of one that might be as interesting of a matchup as Paige and Caitlin because of all the off the court innuendo with that stuff. I think that's what would make that one interesting. Yeah, man, that would be. I can't think. Paige and Juju would be cool.
Yeah, Paige and Juju would be great. You know who would be a tough one-on-one out? Maddie Booker. Maddie Booker would be a tough matchup for anybody.
Maddie versus Juju.
Maddie Juju, that's far two big guards. I mean, that's
Maddie Booker would be a tough out. You're right. Maddie Booker would be a tough out.
You got to think of a Juju to match up with her, right?
Yeah.
That would be a tough one.
That's a good one, man. I'm about to go put these players in 2K and put them on the
That's what we need. Yeah.
Oh man, there's so much talent, bro. I love women's basketball.
It's awesome. It's just awesome, and it's only getting better. It's only getting crazier.
Oh my gosh, this is gonna be great. All right, thank you guys for tapping in with us. To all of you guys that tapped in with us live, we greatly appreciate it. For all you guys that are watching on the playback, we appreciate that as well. Make sure you guys are following us on Instagram at @ProtectOurQueens_, on Twitter at @POQueens_, for more from the show, both short form content, as well as other women's basketball content that's not connected to the show itself. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We are winding down 2024. It's been a great 2024 for us. And we're hoping obviously for an even better 2025. But until then, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment. We always want to interact. We always want you guys to join the conversation. So don't forget, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, we are live right here on the Give Us a Shot Network. Unless, of course, we say otherwise. So for my guy, Martin Soares of Basketball Society, this is Marcus of the Protect Our Queens podcast signing off. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, you guys enjoy yourselves. So women's basketball.